All right, in lesson 6 in module 2, we're going to move on to the fourth type of transformation that we're working with. So keep in mind, we started with the three isometries or basic rigid motions: translation, reflection, rotation. Now, while their orientation might change with some of that stuff, their basic size and shape did not change. They were distance preserving and angle measure preserving, meaning the sides didn't get any longer, the angle measures didn't get any bigger or smaller, longer, smaller, any of that stuff. Okay? Now, scale factors is the fourth type of transformation we're working on. Their shape is going to stay the same as well. But in scale factors, or I'm sorry, dilations that we're talking about here, things are going to be getting bigger or smaller, depending on the type of number we multiply by. Okay, so let's look at what we mean by that. We're going to do a little wizardry here. Harold and his friends went to a wizard's camp where they took class on spells and potions. The group tried several potions that would cause you to either grow or shrink based on the scale factor of the potion. All right, so we're going to, scale factor is the number we're multiplying by. We've dealt with numbers like that: slope, constant, unit rate. Those are all kind of like similar. The name we use for them depends on the situation we're in. Okay, so a scale factor is the number we're multiplying by. Fill the table below to show the effect that the potions had on Harold and his friends. Okay, so we have the starting height of Harold and his friends. I don't know who's who here. It doesn't really matter. And then the potion scale factor. So when they mixed up their potion, it had a scale factor, either to make people grow or shrink. Okay, so the first one was done for us. The starting height was 60. The scale factor was a half. Remember I said scale factor we multiply by. 60 times a half is 30. So the new height is 30 inches. So if they started at 60 inches and their new height is 30 inches, well, did they grow or shrink? They shrank, right? Shrink. Okay, so now let's do the same thing here. We're going to take our height and we're going to multiply it by our scale factor. You can grab a calculator to do this, but I'll tell you that 64 times 3 is 192 inches. So if this friend of Harold's or Harold himself was the 64 inches, now is 192 inches, well, he or she definitely grew. So we're going to say grow. Same thing here. 56 times 1/8. Remember to multiply. We can put a 1 underneath, okay? And that actually ends up being 56 divided by 8. Multiplying by 1/8 is the same thing as dividing by 8. So what is 1/8 of 56, or 56 divided by 8? 7. Well, this person definitely shrank. So we're going to put shrink here. Did they grow or shrink? Shrink. Same thing here. Now, our scale factor this time is a decimal. Does it matter? Do we change because it's decimal? No. We're multiplying. Scale factor is number we multiply by. So 58 times 2.5, 2.5. Type that into a calculator, you get 145 inches. Well, from 58 to 145, definitely grew. So we write grow. Again, another decimal here. 60 times 4/10, 0.4. Okay, multiply that together, you get 24. And again, it's not like I know this stuff in my head. Done it previously with a calculator, okay? Now, if this person was 60 inches and now they're 24 inches, we say shrink. Kind of hoping they have a spell where they can undo this, right? All right, 32 or 62 inches, scale factor of 3/2. If you multiply, and again, remember we can put a 1 on the bottom. When you multiply straight across and then divide by 2, you end up with 93 inches. Okay. Now, kind of thinking that when we've been multiplying by fractions, we put shrink, but this is a fraction greater than 1. So in this one, we actually grew. So we write grow. Okay, so scale factor, something we do to multiply by to get a new size, right? A new length. And then it either grew or shrank. So describe in your own words how you calculated, the new height after each potion. Well, we multiply. What we did is we multiply the starting height by the scale factor. Multiply the starting height by the scale factor to find the new height. Okay, so that's the process. Okay, old height times the scale factor, get the new height. List the scale factors that caused Harold and his friends to grow. When what did we notice? So our scale factors are here. So the ones that caused it to grow were a 3, shrink, grow, 2.5, shrink, grow, and 3/2. Okay, so what do we notice about all three of those numbers? Well, they are all greater than 1. Okay, do you see that? 3 is bigger than 1, 2.5 is bigger than 1. 3/2, remember that's 1 and 1/2. All numbers greater than 1. And we grew. Now it says list the scale factors that caused Harold and his friends to shrink. So we say shrink here, that was 1/2. 1/8. And 0.4. Okay, so it's not like they're all decimals or all fractions or anything like that, but these are all numbers. They are all less than 1, right? They're all numbers less than 1. Now I need to maybe put in parentheses here. I'm going to say between 0 and 1. Okay, because I don't want us thinking negatives. That's a whole nother issue of something different. Okay, so really when we say they're less than 1, they're between 0 and 1. Okay, because if we multiply by 0, disappears. That's the real wizardry, right? Okay. So what do you think would happen if they drank a potion with a scale factor of 1? Well, what is the process? The process would say starting height times the scale factor, 1. What happens when you multiply by 1? Stays the same, right? So it's going to, whatever the starting height is, if we follow the process, it's going to stay the same. So we're going to say stay the same height. Okay, so again, in the next video, we'll get in the specifics of a dilation, but dilations are going to involve scale factors. They're going to make our figures grow or shrink depending on that scale factor.